Live from their home studios, please welcome the hosts of DevCentral Connects, Boo Lamb and Jason Rahm.
Well, hello, DevCentral community. Looking forward to what we have today. Today is DevCentral Connects, and we are piling on with Microservices March on our NGINX side of the house, and we're going to be doing some lab stuff today. So it should be pretty exciting because everybody loves a good lab. I went through a lab recently, actually, on At the Edge, and that was fun because it was live, and I had a fail through the lab there. Corrected itself afterwards. I made a post about it as well over on our new community platform at community.f5.com. So you want to check that out. I actually left the demo site up and running too, so folks can go poke around that a little bit, but looking to work on that a little bit further. But today's show is going to be a lab, and we're going to do it a little bit interesting today. Jason, I'll bring on in a second here, but what we'll do is we'll play. I don't know if it's good cop, bad cop, or what it's going to be, but Jason's going to be the one running through the lab. I've actually run through it already, and then I'll kind of, we'll play off of each other here and watch Jason do the lab live. So should be super fun. Now this lab is going to take over 30 minutes. We usually live stream for 30 minutes, and so what we'll actually do is we've created an event over on community.f5.com, and I'll show everyone here. If you head over to the site, you will find under a tab over on the top here called Events. Go look at Events, and you will see an event here for our lab. And so what we're going to do is we're still going to live stream, and we'll go through our lab as much as we can over 30 minutes. And then at the end of the 30 minutes, we'll actually hop over to this event. I'm spinning up a Zoom, and anybody can join the Zoom. I will post that into the comments here once we flip over to the platform. And then would love to see everybody, at that point, then we're not live streaming, just one-to-many at that point. We can have actually a bit of a mesh going on there. We can all look at each other, or you don't have to turn your camera on, but you can ask questions and you can interact with us in that type of setting. So we're looking forward to that. Actually, should be pretty fun to interact in that way. We'll talk a little bit more about the lab here, but without further ado, I want to bring on Jason, and I'll do that right now. Jason, how you doing?
I am fantastic. I'm excited about being the guinea pig for this lab. All I have done is spun up the environment. I have not looked at the lab guide. I have not gone ahead and prepared so that I look like I know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing, and so yeah, happy to be the guinea pig.
Yeah, awesome. It should be a fun one. I ran through it, and it's fun. I think they get their point across with this, which was the whole idea. We had on Jen Gile last week to talk about what Microservices March is all about, and it's all about just getting people up to speed. NGINX is that company that is kind of in the center of a lot of this when it comes to microservices, when it comes to Kubernetes. Obviously, there is the Kubernetes project itself, but NGINX and Ingress is a big part of that. It's a part that's left out of the project. You're kind of left to choose your own, and NGINX is usually the default one. So it's in a good spot to be the ones that educate everybody on this kind of stuff. Before we head into that, though, Jason, I've got a question of the day for you.
Okay, I think I'm ready. I might be ready. I don't know if I'm ready.
All right. I think it'll be an easy one for you to pick up on it or think about here. On your phone, besides your productivity apps that you would use for work, what is your most used application on your phone?
The most used app would be the Bible. Yeah. That'd be my Bible app would probably be the most used. And then after that, probably social media. I'm at the point with social media, though, it's taken too much of my time, and I'm about ready to delete them off the phone. Not get off of social media altogether, but I do spend too much time on that, just mindlessly flipping through the phone. And I got bigger priorities in life. And so, yeah.
Yep, fair enough. Cool. I would say for me, I think YouTube is probably I didn't really think about this before I asked you the question. I think YouTube is probably my most used app on the phone, besides productivity and besides text messaging with the family as well. Yeah, but it is interesting to kind of flip through. And I was thinking about this as I was coming up with the question. I look at my phone and I have 7, 8, 9, 10 pages worth of apps on there. And and some of those are in folders as well. And I'd be interested to see if there's a stat or way to track this. I probably use like 15
Yeah.
at the most.
Yeah, I don't use a whole lot. I used to have games and stuff. Like, I'll install games before I go on a flight, but I haven't flown in 2 years, so I don't really have that many games on there anymore. I have chess. Chess is on there, and I do play that one. But yeah, just past productivity, not a whole lot.
Yeah, we've got a comment here, Pasilva, YouTube for Peter, for sure. Yeah, anybody else, if you want to comment and share what you think or what your most popular apps are on your phone, please do. Okay, so let's set up today. We're going to go through a lab today, Microservices March with NGINX. We got 4 labs coming up. We're going to take turns. So today, Jason, you're the guinea pig, and let's show everybody where you need to go for this and how we're doing this. So if you head over to nginx.com/mm for Microservices March, they've got their whole agenda laid out on there. Every week is a different topic that they're going to go through. So if I were to go to the agenda up here, it's going to show you, what each unit is going to be. So they started just this week. We're on Unit 1, Architecting Kubernetes Clusters for High Traffic Websites. And definitely the lab is going to take us through that. There's all the other pieces to this as well. So it's not just a lab, but you're getting a webinar out of this. You're getting a bunch of documentation to be looking through for this as well. I'll admit, I didn't actually go through those pieces at this point, so I'm going to have to go back and look at that. But it's all self-paced, so you can just do it, as you please. So you want to go register for that. And then the future weeks coming up as well, webinar, reading, and lab. So lots of learning made available by the NGINX team. I think this is great. The lab is all hosted. So we're actually going to run through the lab in the same environment that F5's Agility Labs are running, our demo framework. And so these labs are not actually run through there. But if you wanted to, after the fact, let's say you wanted to run through these labs, we can help you out in getting that going. And at the same time, the labs are everyone will see, but the labs are actually done in a way where if you have your own environment and you don't need a whole lot, you just need enough to run Minikube, which we'll talk about in a second as well. You could run it on your own machine pretty easily here and get the gist of what they're doing. So pretty straightforward. The lab guide is actually over on the GitHub for DevCentral as well. So you head over to github.com/DevCentral. The repo is called NGINX Microservices March Labs, and it is organized in there with labs 1, 2, 3, and 4. And yeah, the only requirement here is Minikube. So you don't need a whole lot to run Minikube. We'll go into lab 1 here, and that's where we're going to be. So I'll remind everybody, we're going to run through the lab live today with Jason. We'll see how far we get in 30 minutes. And then after that, we're going to head over to community.f5.com. Check out the event that we've got on there. Actually, this is the link. The research team has posted that. So community.f5.com. Look under the events tab, and you'll be able to find that. And you'll find the Zoom link that we'll post to do to finish up the lab live with everybody as well, because we want to get through it all. Okay, that is what I'm going to say about it. Maybe we'll head over into your world, Jason, and actually start hacking away at this lab.
Okay, so you see at the very top here, we've got these fancy animated, I'm going to say GIFs. I don't want to start a holy war again on GIFs versus GIFs, but GIFs, yes, like the peanut butter. And this is kind of the TLDR here. that we're going to learn how to deploy the NGINX ingress controller and then autoscale on the requests with Prometheus and Kita. Is that Kita?
Yeah, I don't
I'm
know
not familiar
how
with
they
Kita.
pronounce
I
that.
know Prometheus. I haven't personally deployed that, but I don't know Kita. So that's new for me.
Yeah,
That
should be
acronym.
pretty fun.
Yeah. Okay.
That's for the that's the event Kubernetes event-driven automation. So we're going to go through scalability. The point of this lab is to not only show, how you would bring traffic into Kubernetes, but it's also to show how it can scale for high traffic scenarios as well. So in here, maybe we'll talk about what the lab consists of when you go into the hosted environment. It's just a Ubuntu box. I think they're just running Ubuntu 20.
I can even look at that real quick if from our demo environment, the details. Actually, let me go out of the device itself. Components for this lab is a subnet and a system. That's it. There's not a lot going on there from a standpoint of infrastructure. And then in the system itself, not even really too many. Okay, yeah. So 6 CPUs, 24 gigs of memory. That's significant. And then a big disk there, and then of course the access methods. And so basically all I'm going to do is go to a shell, which I have over here. And so let me know if that's too small for everybody out there, and I can make it bigger. But it seems big for me, but if it's not big enough, I can make it bigger. All right. So if we go back to the overview here, when you expose applications from a cluster to the internet, you need to component that can forward requests to the application, ingest a large number of requests while keeping latency low, terminate SSL, apply policies such as rate limiting authentication. So for those who are not familiar at all with like Kubernetes, it's kind of a closed environment, right? It has all of this stuff going on in the inside that you can create, but there's it's a fortress, right? It's a castle, and the ingress is that gate, or the not the gate, but the drawbridge, right? That you can lower and raise across your moat. And so if you don't have a drawbridge, there's no way in and out of the castle. Obviously you could swim and deal with whatever's in the moat and all that, but so the analogy kind of falls down right there. But there's no way into the cluster without an ingress, and so that's what the NGINX here provides, is that ingress controller to be able to manage getting in and out of that cluster. And then how you get in and out, there's different methods for that, but let's see what they say about today. So here first, we're creating a cluster, deploying an app. We're going to start by creating a local cluster in Minikube. Okay.
Right.
And so that's just one command, right?
Yeah. So just that first line is what you're going to copy there, Minikube start.
Okay. And so, for the people out there that get hung up on, okay, what is all this doing? Well, obviously we don't have time to like be super thorough with everything that's going on, but Minikube is a miniature version of Kubernetes that allows you to put it on small things and then experiment with it. Do you know, Boo? I mean, Minikube itself is not something that you would ever do in production, right? That's just a kind of a test environment?
I believe so. Yeah. That? I don't think you would use that in production because I don't think it scales I don't know. I'm pretty sure the worker nodes don't scale.
Yeah.
So, but it's awesome because I think, for me trying to learn Kubernetes, I was like, where do I start? And I've mentioned this before. There's something called Kubernetes Hardway, which is a Kelsey Hightower repo. A lot of people contribute to it, but it's a repo of like how to build Kubernetes from scratch. And that's not really where I wanted to start. Right. Really what you're trying to do is you're trying to learn the YAML and you're trying to learn kubectl commands, kubectl commands. And so Minikube lets you do that. You can run kubectl commands, and you can deploy things using your YAML files, and it's a perfect environment for that. And you can poke around, and it functions like a Kubernetes cluster.
Okay. And kubectl is just the client interface into Kubernetes, whether it's Minikube or Google's version or full Kubernetes, right?
Yeah, so that'll let you control the cluster, issue commands to it. It's a local CLI. And I should mention as well, and because I actually mentioned this for my article that I wrote following the lab that I did on At the Edge, is I actually asked people, I put in the requirements to install kubectl, kubectl on your local machine, because it's a command line interface that you can use on your local machine and control any Kubernetes cluster. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be running it on the machine itself or on the master node itself. And so you can actually use it using environment variables to go talk to other Kubernetes clusters. If you have the proper certificates, you can go talk to, whatever Kubernetes clusters are available out there for your usage, obviously. And so it's really important to learn that those commands on there. There's not a whole lot that you have to use like day to day. There's a handful that you use day to day, but it's still good to feel comfortable with that command line. So that installed pretty quick, right? That was 2 minutes or so.
Yeah, no, I don't even think it's like maybe a minute. I did notice the version's already advanced from where the lab guide was built. Minikube 125.2. It looks like in the lab it was 1.24. So versions are already advancing between when lab was built, which was probably not that long ago, and what I deployed. And okay, so before exploring how to explore, okay, let's create the app itself. So this is all right. So this is YAML format, right? YAML is not what you're building; it's the format in which you're building your application. So for those of you who are keeping track of technologies, you need to know, kubectl, the client API for Kubernetes, installing Minikube, and the things that come along with that. Flushing out a server, whether it's Ubuntu or other versions. And when I'm learning something new, I'm always keeping track of, like, making a list. What are all these things I need to know along the way? And some of it's just, okay, I'm going to point and click and work my way through an app. But then it's like, okay, now I got to backtrack. What do I know about these things? What do I not know about these things? How can I, learn more? So there's a nice little button there just to copy the whole thing. And so I have to create that.
Right. So that isn't totally specified in here, but that's what you're doing. So if you look at the next code block, actually, it says the file name, if you're going to follow the file name.
one-deployment.yaml. So if I come back over here, this is VI. I love VI. Don't know how to use any of the other ones. I've just been from the very beginning. Right out of college, I went to a HPUX class for 3 weeks as part of my government contract, and it was VI from the very beginning. So that's where I'm at. All right. So now that I have that file,
I learned Pico first.
Did you? The ones that come up with like text menus and all that, those things just confuse me. I was like, just give me some, shortcut keys and all that. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm applying a configuration. So I guess we can talk through this configuration a little bit. It's we have an API version, and again, I don't really know exactly what's happening here. How to expose an application to your Kubernetes cluster. Let's create the app. So it's creating an app in language that Kubernetes understands. So you have to deploy a kind, or you have to specify a kind. a version of the API that you're doing. Then you have various metadata. And so this is like, if you don't know anything about Kubernetes, and I started a Kubernetes class in January, and just everything going on in life, I had to back out of that, but I'm going to get back to it. It's learning what all these things are. I don't know that, and so that's something that I've got to add to my repertoire of skills, because I can look at all this, but I don't really know what any of that means at this point. So if you're there, don't worry. We can work through it and see things that work. Then you go back and learn, hey, what do I change in here? What can I change in here? What always needs to be the same? And then, you build from that. That's why I love labs like this, is because you start with something that exists rather than starting from scratch.
Okay. we can even back it up even just one step further too. Like, what we're actually deploying is a container, right? For folks who aren't even at that point yet, if you kind of back up to our conversation that we had with Gengile, we're in the point where people are deploying their applications they're deploying modern applications, and so a monolithic application is broken up into microservices. Those microservices are containers, and so if we look down like line 12 or 15 or so, then we have the name of the container and image that we're deploying. So that's what we're deploying. A container is a packaging of a small application, or it could be a big application, but a packaging of that application. And that's what we're deploying. We're doing a kind deployment with that container on there. And it's a container called pod info. We'll see what that does for us in a second. And then this file also creates, so the first part of it says deployment, and it's also creating a service. So you can think of it in two pieces here. It's deploying the container itself, but then it's making that container available through the service, because you can see there's network information on there, right? We have port information on how that application is going to be shown outside of presented itself, or how it will present itself. And also, one thing to note there too is service. The last line is type load balancer, and it'll mention that in the lab guide as well. But that's something just to note. We'll step forward, and it'll talk about it a little bit.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and actually apply this thing. Okay, that was quick and painless.
Yeah. So one line that isn't in here, but for folks who could use this extra line, there's kubectl get pods. Or sorry, space there. Oh,
all right.
We're gonna move our faces here. Hang on. There we go. Okay, so we see our pod there. Our pod is called pod info, and then there's only one. How does this work? There's one pod per service, I believe, or one container per pod, and that's why it says one of one there. Okay. And then if we had something like service mesh, then we might actually see a 2 of 2 there. But in this case here, we got 1 of 1, and it is running now, so we're set. Okay. The next line is actually going to do some verification as to whether or not that service came up. So I'll let you run that. This is one that didn't work for me, and maybe I had the syntax wrong, but let's see what you get on your side, and we can work around it too. Okay, so I don't know why that is. We want it to.
It's maybe because we didn't actually. Wait, no, that's the pod that's running. What do we call it?
Pod info.
Yeah.
So my workaround for this, if you were to go through the help page for it, you can actually take out pod info and go -- all. So this is what we were trying to see. We were trying to see the service come up. So we got a namespace default. The name of the pod was pod info, the target port is 80, and then we have a URL there. We're not going to use that URL because we're going through our lab environment. If you were to do this locally on your own machine, though, and had access to the browser, you would do it that way. But we have direct access to that. So this is what I was trying to bring up. So I don't know why it doesn't bring up when we type in pod info, and I spent a few minutes trying to figure that out. If anybody in the audience knows why that didn't come up, let us know.
Do you need to provide the namespace?
But we could try that.
It didn't work either.
Didn't like it.
Interesting. Okay.
Well,
we can give that feedback to the lab team.
Yeah, it's all in GitHub. We could do a PR, or we could file an issue.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Yeah. So at this point here, we're trying to pull up the pod info. In Jason's lab environment, you actually have a access link to that off of the instance itself.
Okay, so
yeah, on that bar there, just move over a little bit more. There
what am I look? Oh, the pod info.
Yeah. Okay, so there's our pod info. Oh, I guess you can click on the ping there.
Maybe.
Maybe not. Okay.
I don't know what that. Does that mean it's actually working?
I don't know what that. I never actually tried the ping. Does it give you a number there, like a milliseconds?
No.
Not. Okay, interesting. Okay, we're actually at 9:57 here. So just to remind everybody, we're actually going to head over to a Zoom call. I'm going to go post right now. I'm going to go post the Zoom link into. Where are you? Where's my Zoom link? I'm going to post that into the event. Come on. And then that will be where everyone can join. I will put that link up in just a second here.
And we'll continue working through that lab over there. And we'll take the baby steps from where we started, continue on over at DevCentral, and we'll be there in a couple minutes.
Yeah. So let's close her out here. So okay, I've posted that Zoom link. So if everybody heads over to this URL here, which is at community.f5.com, you head under the events tab up at the top, and you'll see our one event that's going on. It's marked as in progress right now. So you can head over there to join us for the rest of this. We've hit time on the live stream today, but we're going to do this via Zoom. But maybe we can just spend the last minute here talking about what we've got coming up. Actually, the next show coming up is the core, Jason. So I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah, for sure. So in the vein of staying all things NGINX on the core on Tuesday, I'm going to work through a reference architecture that the team released during Agility. And one of the questions we got in our live sessions with the community during Agility was around the idea of, well, I'm learning to do things with Ansible, and I'm learning YAML, and I'm learning automation toolchain, and I'm learning all these things, but I don't know how to put all the pieces together. And one of the interesting things that they said in their Agility session presenting NGINX MARA, the modern app reference architecture, is that often in the tutorial space, they develop toys, right? They build toys to show you how something works, but it's not something you would ever deploy. And so everybody builds these toy-like skills that don't actually end up with anything production ready. And so the goal for MARA was building production ready glue for deploying a modern application. And so I'm going to go through that, and we're going to look at that and how do you get that thing started. And it's really a tool to investigate, learn, see how pieces are put together, and you can swap pieces in and out. And so they're really excited about it. They're looking for people to get involved in it, contribute to it. So that's what the goal is for Tuesday.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one. There's a lot of pieces to that, so should be cool. A couple other shows that we got coming up here. The next Thursday, we're going to do Lab 2. I'll be the guinea pig, and Jason's going to walk me through that lab. We've got Top 5 coming up on the 22nd, and then it's going to be Lab 3, Jason's turn to be the guinea pig again. And then after that, we've got an extra week in March. So we've got a DC Extra show on the next Tuesday, and then we're going to wrap up Microservices March on the 31st. So lots of content for everybody. But I've already joined the Zoom call, and we've got people joining already. So for everybody who is on here, if you just want to pop over to community.f5.com, find the Zoom link under the Events tab, and we'll carry on this conversation, this lab over there. So thanks so far, Jason, for being the guinea pig today, and we'll see everyone in a little bit here.
Absolutely. Take care, everyone.